It's game time. Game time. Game time. We winning, we winning, we winning, we winning. It's game time. Game time.
All right, let's move into questions for Ethan.
So Ethan, thanks for joining. We always love having a special guest. So the last time you made playoffs was in 2020, and that was it.
Do you want to know what happened that year in 2020?
Get to the question.
Hey, out of the three of us here, who's had the most recent championship?
Jackson Jarvis.
He's not here.
Okay, here we go. Let's try again. The last time you made playoffs was in 2020, a COVID year.
I don't believe in COVID.
Does this put an asterisk on your playoff appearances and eventual championship during that COVID year?
No. I only got COVID once that year, and it wasn't during the fantasy season, so I don't think it affected my performance.
Did you have fun playing fantasy this year?
No, not one bit.
Why?
It was rough. It was really rough.
What, 5 wins? 6 wins? Maybe?
I had fun the last 6 weeks. I ended with 2 losses, I think, but the 4 weeks prior to that were fun because I actually didn't suck those 4 weeks completely, and got a couple wins in there. Got 1 win away from being able to say that I was 1 win from playoffs.
Loser talk. If I've ever heard it, loser talk.
Yep.
So
I padded my points for enough to where I could complain about having a middle tier points for and missing playoffs because I was like max tier points against.
So Ethan, you ended the season 11th, 1 below Mike. What is your excuse for not making the playoffs this year?
My excuse is that when offered Kamara for Zeke, CC said no.
Really? That would have been a horrible trade.
I don't actually know if I offered that straight up, but I tried and he didn't want Kamara. And at the time, Kamara was coming off a 40-point week. He has since then completely blown. And I placed my bad season solely on the shoulders of Alvin Kamara. My second round pick, hot garbage. Zeke started off CD started off kind of rough, but like when it comes down to it, he's a top 6 wide receiver. So I don't have any regret picking him where I did because I would have either picked him at 111 or 2-2. And I don't regret that, but the Kamara pick really hurt me.
I mean, you're leading into my next question of next year, are you going to draft my X team again? Every player you just named, I had on my roster last year. And guess what? It didn't work out.
I didn't get all of them. I missed a couple. Can you ask me about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I will later.
Can you ask him about our bet?
Not on the list. So Ethan, did you know that both Parker, Mike, Jarvis, and Holmes all have the same number of playoff appearances? As you.
Do you know if any of them have more championships than me?
All right. Do you regret drafting 3 Bears?
I don't know if I regret the outcome. I don't know if I regret drafting them because of where I drafted them. I think I got good value on all of them. Monty, I don't consider a bust pick. I think he got unlucky because of an injury. Darnell Mooney, he should have been good. I got he's so bad I don't even know his name. Darnell Mooney, like the ADP of where I picked him was normal. Like I don't really care that I have like multiple players in the same team. Like he should have been good, and their offense just was trash until they let Fields like loose after the bye week. Same with Komet. Like Komet's if Komet had been all season what he is now, like I would have considered that value in the 9th round for a tight end. Like where I took Komet, like if whatever tight end you take in the 9th round, if you had taken Goddard in the 9th round, you traded for him. But like if you had taken Goddard in the 9th and he sucked, you would have cut him loose and no one would have like thought a thing. You'd be like, took a shot on a 9th round tight end and he flamed out. Like that's what I did with Komet. I took a shot at a 9th round tight end and he flamed out and I cut him. I definitely don't regret the Komet pick because it's a 9th round. Like everything there's a shot. I don't regret Monty because I don't like anybody else I was considering there also sucked this year. Like I don't think I had a chance to. I think Michael Williams went right before that, but like that was an option there. Cortland Sutton was an option there. Any of my options there sucked.
Follow up. next year, would you do it again? Maybe not with the Bears, but would you do it like, let's say,
The
Dulcich?
Panthers.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna go with the Broncos, but yeah, an even worse offense with the Panthers.
Next
even
year,
know.
I will not take a single player from a losing franchise
Write it down.
until I take 12 players from losing franchises.
Ethan, with all the stats that have been shared, do you still consider yourself good at fantasy?
I have
Why?
the most championships in our league. People have two. No
COVID
one has
year.
more than me. No one has more championships than me.
And a couple of people have the same number.
Is that
Very
I
more?
know that there's a
statement.
Is that more?
there's a
Jake, how many do you
1/3
have?
chance.
I just said it's misleading. That's all.
Hey,
I'd say it's-
There's a 1/3 chance that will change this playoff. The one additional follow-up, Ethan. Does your family know how bad at fantasy you are?
this year they do.
does the public know how bad you are at fantasy?
Let's not advertise that.
And
And
I
by
know you
and by
don't
that I
advertise
mean
that.
this year.
Because-
I'm back in fantasy.
I know we haven't had our social media channel for since the last time you were good. Because
That may or may not involve
But
me hating fantasy.
if Ethan was good, I promise you he would be posting updates on GG
There would be
Instagram
one every
every
week.
week.
You will
and now-
also notice this is the first podcast I've been on all season because
So what
fantasy
you're
was
saying
not
is
fun.
what you're saying is you shouldn't be the social chair.
I don't think that's my title. That's Grant's title.
Social cheer.
So nice try.
What's your title?
I don't know.
You don't have a title.
Third board member.
Do you like Matt's team name, Goose?
Yeah,
Did you like Matt's team name, Moose?
I did. I named my dog Moose. Thanks, Matt.
Well, I was hoping you flame. I'm sure I wish there was a clip out there where you were flaming his dog or his team name. That way I could flame your dog's name. But
I don't think I ever flamed his team name because when you, me, Brandon, it might have been just us three, was on the draft call after the draft, we were going through and we were picking division names based on old teams. And Jake, I believe, suggested the idea that it's better if we just have random team names rather than like based off of
no.
players.
I
Was it you?
I always have a name in mind.
Oh, I always have too, but I thought it was you who suggested that we should go back to some more of those. I'm pretty sure it was. I don't know if you said it was better that way, but you pitched the idea that we should have more random names like that you used to have when you were 12. Maybe
Sure.
it was Matt that suggested that. So that's why me and Matt have random names. I'm the Lightning Turtles, and he was a Moose, and then he sucked, so he changed it to Goose. So
Okay.
No,
I never
that's
knew.
the
I never
explanation
knew
you've
why
been asking for all year. I did it first, and then Matt texted me and said, "Why is your team name something random?" And then I told him we talked about it. He said, "Oh, that sounds fun," and then he did it.
Last questions, we'll kind of combine them together. Did the fantasy footballers draft advice not work for you? And in tandem with that, would you take draft advice next year from, look at Jake, from the people that finished above you this season, i.e. Zach, your favorite fighting Farmersville, Grant, Jarvis, or Mike? Would you take advice from any of the individuals who have finished above you in the standings this season? And if so, would you also invest in the ultimate draft kit for next year to take your draft game to the next level?
I'm really glad y'all are having a good time. I would not take a draft advice from anyone. I stick to my guns. I am my own advice.
Not even Zach.
No. No, not you either.
Would you take advice from me?
No.
Really?
I am my own advice. I stick to my guns.
I mean, I think who do you guys think is the best drafter in the league? I think it's got to be me.
But
there's a
how many
Bible verse about
championships
being
has that
humble.
resulted in?
I didn't say I'm not very good clutching out in the end. I will admit that. But I think drafting wise, I never leave the draft with a bad team.
I don't
agree.
think
I always think you're gonna make.
I don't think any of my drafts have won me either of my championships. It was all late season waiver wire additions, and this year there weren't really many for me to capitalize on.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
here doing it.
Like the
No
players I needed in my draft to hit to like carry me didn't happen. So it was just pretty abysmal.
So
I
you're
looked,
bad.
other
Like-
than my first round pick, I only had 2 guys on my roster
Oh.
starting for me last week that I drafted.
No, your draft was probably the worst I've ever seen
It
from
was very bad.
anyone and you, especially you. But I mean, it was really bad.
Well, I had a lot of guys that could have hit, and they all didn't.
Yeah.
If you looked at my team from 2 years ago and I won, like any like contributors were either studs in the beginning that like were supposed to be good, like well CMC was dead and somehow I won after that, past that, or waiver wire additions like James Robinson, Miles Gaskin, who like took me either 2 playoffs or 3 playoffs. No, I don't think he's in the league anymore. No, I didn't pick him up that year.
The year you
But like
won,
that didn't
yeah.
happen to me this year. The first one, maybe not the second one. I think I did. I had David John. So the first championship, I picked up David Johnson and Tim Hightower really late, and then they carried me through playoffs. So like
Forgot about
this
it.
season, I wasn't in a position to get carried through playoffs because I didn't make it. Like I didn't have anybody to really carry me, except Jalen Hurts. He was awesome. So all excuses, but I don't. After the draft, I loved my team. Like Brandon and y'all in like Brandon Jake's podcast, Jake hated my team, but Brandon loved it and named it the best draft on his rankings, which
I
is
didn't.
cool. Yeah, you
That was
hated it,
Yeah, that was one I didn't like.
but I loved it. Like I got everyone I
Also, you
wanted,
picked it.
and I mean, have you loved all your drafts?
Yes, I do love all my drafts, and they're all always pretty good.
That is a
Somebody
lie.
starts
Whenever you
preparing
got the
months in
call
advance.
from that, you got a call from some mattress guy.
Todd
freaked
Gurley,
out when you
baby.
Picks, and you're like, oh, I hate this team.
I didn't like Todd Gurley pick, but ended up being amazing. But anyway, yeah, I
Very
mean,
few picks that I regret.
look, I'll be the first to admit a draft doesn't get you to the championship. Everyone knows that, and I wasn't saying I'm the best person in the league, but I would confidently say I'm top 2 or 3 in drafting.
Yeah, top 4.
All right. Anyway,
I'll give you top
But
tier.
that ends our Ethan segment. Thank you, Ethan, for
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, Ethan, you're good to hop off.
Horrible.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, see ya.
yeah, no stats for you. So, yeah.
All right. On the topic of me being bad, I'd like to completely out. Oh yeah. So on the topic of me being bad, I'm here to out everyone else for also being bad. So the stats we're going to be discussing here are the lowest 15 scores in modern GG era. So this is like GG4 and up, lowest scores of all time, bottom 15. So
Okay.
starting at 15. So we have 3 entries to the list from this season, which is why it's relevant. We had 3 of the lowest 15 scores ever in 2022. First up at number 15 is Mike. This year he had a score of 74.74, which was pretty cool to have the double 74. So several times throughout the year, everyone was like, oh, I'm on pace for the lowest ever. And none of you actually were. We'll get there. But Mike was currently in 10th place. And the reason for his 74.74 was he had 2 gooses and for some reason decided to start Malik Willis that week. Not really sure why you wanted to do that. There's plenty of people on waivers, but 2 gooses and Malik Willis. Well, Jake's bad too. Next up is Grant in 14th place. Also this season in 2022 was 74.18. The cutoff for all these scores was basically 75. Mike said in the bar there. Grant is currently in 9th. He was in 4th when this score happened. He was in 4th place when he scored 74 points. And the reason was he was just bad. Like there was no gooses, there was no anything. He was just bad. So moving on to 13 is Jarvis back in 2014 with 73.70 points. He finished in 10th place. His reason, 4 inactives and 1 bye. So from here on out, everyone on this list is doing something stupid. They have like starting someone on bye, they got a goose, someone got hurt. So I guess not all their fault, but a lot of times it's their fault. Fun fact, Grant in 14th, that's the only person on this list who didn't have a reason to have a low score. Like he didn't have a goose, he didn't have an injury before someone had points, he didn't start someone on bye. Like everyone on his team played the mostly the full game. I think that week he had Hollywood get hurt, but he had already scored like 10 to 14 points. So that didn't really affect his low score. Everyone else was just bad. He's the only one on this list who has that case. In 12th is Holmes in 2019 with 73 points. He finished 8th, and he started one player on bye. In 11th, Zach, also this year in 2022. This was the lowest score of the year for us. Scored 67.7. He's currently in 8th, but he was in playoffs when this week happened. So he's dropped since then. He had one goose, and he decided to start Philip Lindsay. He had Dontrell Hilliard on his bench. I think he had a big week that week, Henry related. So he should have picked him over Philip Lindsay. Philip Lindsay got like 0.1 at that time. And then next is Jake, 2018, 68, finished 11th. Inactives and Goose, Philip Rivers threw 4 picks that week. Cole, 2014, 4 picks. So you had -8 from your quarterback.
Wait, what?
Rivers finished with -0.03.
Oh my. Give me a break.
Next is Cole in 9th place in 2014, 68.5. He finished in 12th. Oh, Jake, can we go back to the last one in 2018? You finished in 11th, just to let you know. Cole had a negative defense. Hey, championships. In 11th was Jack in 2017, our first Jack entry on the list. He had 64 points. He finished 12th. I think this is what I was talking about. Nope, he finished 12th. 1 bye, 2 inactive, 1 goose. 6th place, CC, 2015, 66 points. 11th place. Improvement from the prior week. So we'll skip up to the 4th place right now. This is also CC in the same year. Back-to-back weeks, he finishes with scores of 62.6 and 66.42.
Holy cow.
So he actually improved the next week. So the first week he had Peyton Manning with -6.6 through 4 picks. He had an empty defense, but on his bench, he had Buffalo with 16 points. So he would have completely escaped this list. And then the next week, he improved to 66 points. He started 2 players on bye and had 1 inactive player. So 3 players, free gooses, because they weren't playing football that week. In between those is Jack in 2016, 62 points, finished dead last, had 2 inactives and a goose, second Jack entry. In 3rd place, Battle Ostriches, Tanner something or other.
Holman.
In 2014, the first modern year, 61 points, finished 11, 1 inactive player. 3rd place, Zach in 2019, 55 points, finished in 7th place. 55 points, finishing in 7th place on the year with 1 inactive player. And then drum roll.
There's no way this is more lower than 55.
This is the lowest score ever.
Besides
Michael Baker. Michael Baker in 2015. Yes, this is not including any kicker bowls or anything before GG4. So Mike in 2015 scored a whopping 52.02 points. And get this, out of all 15, this is the only entry on the list to make playoffs.
What?
Mike scored 52 points on a week and finished 6th in the league, meaning he made playoffs that year. He started 3 players on bye and 1 empty roster spot. So congrats, Mike, for you being the only one to make playoffs. Yes, he's the only one to make playoffs. He's right at the all-time low. We had 3 entries on this list who had the chance. Grant, Mike could have repeated, and Zach, all the chance, but couldn't reach playoffs. Grant was unlucky entry number 13, so that might have been the cause and the reason that he had all active players and still managed to make it on the list. Real quick before we wrap it up, the body count. We'll start down at only 1 entry per person. Battle Ostriches / Tanner, Cole, Jake, Holmes, Jarvis, and Grant all made it on the list 1 time.
What's
Mike?
body count again?
Amount of times you made it on the list.
Oh,
So you're just on the top 15 once, bottom 15 once. Mike, our champion, had 2 entries. Jack made it twice. CC, special note, CC made it back-to-back weeks, so that's pretty impressive. He had both of his entries in the same season. You know, hit his all-time low, and then rebounded. And then our winner of the body count is Zach with 3 of the worst 15 weeks in history. Congrats, Zach, for the 3 championships there, and then Mike for the greatest honor of all.
all right. Well, that was a lot to digest, but
Yeah, I know you all processed all of those.
it seems like it takes effort to not score more than like 80 points. Like if you're scoring below that number, then you're just like
Noah, can you please change my name back to Ethan No Space Right?
All right. Let's
This is why I haven't done a podcast all season. I've had these stats for a month.
Yeah, real quick, let me just touch on this since I did a little bit of work on this morning. The last 5 years, playoff-wise, in 2018, well, let's just do it collectively. There is one person, well, Mike won a championship, so that's incorrect, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, which we've already said, people who've only made the playoffs once in the last 5 years. Ethan, Grant, Jarvis, and Mike, ironically enough, each one of them, the 1 year they went in playoffs, won the championship.
Wow.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that have made playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years. The first 3 are probably pretty easy to think of. The 4th one might be harder. Who do you think they are?
Holy cow. I'm looking at them. I don't know if Ethan dropped off or he just doesn't want to listen, but
No, I'm here.
Okay. The obvious ones are Noah, Jake, Brandon, and I peaked. So Ethan. Who's the 4th person that's made playoffs 4 times out of the last 5 years?
Sorry, there's 5. Sorry, my bad, there's 5 people.
Who are the ones we know?
No, I said Noah, Jake, Brandon are the easier responses. There's 2 left. Who are they?
It's not Brandon.
Okay, well, it is Brandon.
Is it? I thought he missed the last 2. Did just last year?
2021 is the only year he missed it.
Okay. The one who's made 4 out of the last 5, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, so me, Jake, Brandon, there's 2 other people.
Cole.
Yep.
Cole's 1.
It's the last one.
Can't be CC.
not you, so.
Can't be CC. Is it CC?
Yes.
What?
Somehow Colin has made playoffs. 2020. The only year he missed was 21 with obviously you and Brandon that year.
So I think prior to last year, I asked Colin and like CC and Holmes how much they had prepped for the draft, and they both said none because draft prep doesn't matter. Obviously, it doesn't for Holmes because he just quit fantasy. But yeah, it doesn't really matter for CC. I'm pretty sure he preps like 5 minutes before the draft and then weasels his way into playoffs.
We must be so cursed by recency bias because I feel like coming into this year, CC was irrelevant and like bottom of the barrel, but he'd only missed playoffs 1 time.
I think I'm cursed by like effort. Like CC,
Yeah.
CC, if you tried, you would have 12 championships.
I mean, all right, I will say I defended him for a long time this year, but he did some dumb things. Like he had multiple times he started guys who weren't playing. I think
That's what I'm saying. Like it's the effort
3+
level. Like
time.
he's kind of good at fantasy,
Yeah.
but he only checks like once a week.
I think he's got like a genuine age of like whether a player's good or not, but his roster management is so bad.
That's fair.
So
I wouldn't
bad.
have guessed he was on that list. Like I would have guessed. I wouldn't have been surprised with 3 out of 5, but 4 out of 5 is impressive.
And there's one person who's got 3 out of 5. Who do you think that is?
Zach.
Yeah, process ownership got you there. All right, I guess we need to cool it with the seventh place jokes then. Mainly talking to myself, but like he's only made seven twice in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good odds.
And last note on this: the 1 year I missed playoffs, I led the league in scoring and somehow got 7.
I
Wow,
forgot that.
it really should have been this
So
year.
the only
I mean,
year I missed.
I
I'm
don't
what?
know.
I'm top 4 in scoring this year.
It's crazy.
Are you really?
All right. Yeah, because of my last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I guess you pulled away those last 3 weeks because like 3 weeks ago I was ahead of you.
Yeah,
You're really top 4.
1942.
You're fifth.
Fifth.